As we continue to get tributes in on the passing of Dr. Mboweni, we speak to General Secretary of the South African Federation of Trade Unions, now Ntate Zwelinzima Vavi. Good morning, welcome to Newzroom Afrika, and thank you for your time.
Good morning, Masichaba. Good morning to your colleagues and to everybody listening and watching.
Dr. Mboweni was a trade unionist and a member of the South African Congress of Trade Unions. Firstly, if we can just expand a little bit on the ways in which he was central to the transformation of the colonial and also just like moving the country along in the international trade union movement.
Well, he was based in Lesotho, a member of the South African Congress of Trade Unions, SAFTU, and an activist who ensured that excuse me, we ensure that the workers' struggles in South Africa and are taken into the international front, mobilize international solidarity from that advantage of being in exile. And you know that the South African struggle was fought in 4 levels. One of them was the international isolation of the apartheid. He played a critical role in ensuring that workers all over the world stand in solidarity with their counterparts here in South Africa and the rest of the continent. For that, we will always be grateful to him. And secondly, as you are saying, he was the face of the transformation of the apartheid labor market as the Minister of Labor, First Minister of Labor, who understood the principle, the framework, and of the Constitution of South Africa that gives workers a right to join unions, the right to collectively bargain with their employers, a right to strike, a right to negotiate union security agreements such as the agency fee as well as the close shop. No other constitution in the world exists containing similar rights of workers. And he took that forward by transforming the colonial and apartheid labor market, and from the one that was conflict-ridden to the one where at least unions could manage their relationship that is naturally conflictual with the employers. He's the man who pioneered the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, and many workers today who will benefit from having a right to take a tea break, lunch break, maternity benefits, and overtime for work beyond the scheduled hours of work, will not understand the role that Tito Mboweni played as the Minister of Labor in pioneering the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, the Labor Relations Act, and which manages the relationship between the employers and the workers in the economy as well as in the public sector. He championed the introduction of the employment equity legislation that forces all the employers to put forward a plan of transforming their workplaces, and from the one where the white was total dominant to the one that must have an equity and begin to show the demographics of South Africa, where black people will not forever hit a glass ceiling, where women and people with disabilities will not forever hit the glass ceiling in the workplace. He transformed, and I remember this very, very vividly as a mine worker. He transformed the Mine Workers Health and Safety Act to give mine workers a right to refuse to do dangerous work, and he, of course, that went further to transform the Occupational Health and Safety Act, and so he is the face of the transformation of the apartheid labor market, and we have no contradiction in saying we will forever be indebted for that. Of course, we didn't get that all from the silver platter. For each of those pieces of legislation, we had to organize strikes and to strengthen his arm, but also to push back the employers who would have liked to retain the apartheid labor market, or even roll back the clock back to prior 1979 Vayan Commission. So we will be forever indebted to him for that. There is a Tito Mboweni who became the Minister of Finance later in his life, and who became the Minister of, who became the Reserve Bank Governor. With that Tito Mboweni, we had sharp differences because he was carrying forward the legacy of a state that was embarking on a neoliberal program of even budget cuts post the 2017-2018 world economic crisis. With that Mboweni, we had to march to the Reserve Bank, but more importantly, we had to engage with him. He was not afraid to negotiate even when we have such sharp differences. And I remember very well delegation after delegation to see him in his offices as a Reserve Bank governor, and to try and show him that inflation targeting was going to only lead to higher interest rates in South Africa at a time when South Africa needed to develop and to create jobs. And we couldn't convince him. But we still remain people with a cordial relationship that could interact beyond the space of him just being a representative of the state.
Well, the public have come to know him for many different things, whether it's his professional legacy or whether it be his cooking. How will you remember him as a person?
Very boastful, isn't it? And look, he put things up in the social media, such as cooking, what he was cooking. A lot of people would have thought that this boastful represent arrogance. Tito Mboweni was not arrogant. And he was engaging. Of course, he was tough as a negotiator, and he was not a walkover to the labor movement, which was very powerful at that time. But we remember this soft-hearted person, somebody who we had only a pleasure to disagree with at some moment, but a pleasure to work very closely with, in particular when he was the first Minister of Labor. We will remember both legacies of Tito Mboweni, the one that we celebrate as the pioneer of the labor market, but also the one that we disagreed with as the Minister of Finance and the Governor of the Reserve Bank.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Masako.
That was General Secretary of the South African Federation of Trade Unions, Zwelinzima Vavi, just weighing in there in light of the passing of Dr. Mboweni, the pioneer of the current labor market regime, known for an expansive legacy.